The question I have for you, Josh, is Eddie Howe the saviour of football? All right, Josh, I've got a very interesting one for you today. I have a feeling I'm going to get a million blokes coming in on me on a massive two-footed challenge on me. But I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it. Before we launch into this, though, I'm going to ask our customary trivia question, and this one's going to be about Eddie Howe. So Eddie Howe had a professional career, and I was wondering if you could tell me the two different teams that Eddie Howe played for in his professional career.
One of them was Bournemouth. I know that. I'm scared now I'm gonna get this horribly wrong. But the second one, I think, was Watford. That's in my head.
No, it's not Watford. It was in fact Portsmouth. He played on Portsmouth in 2002 to 2004. Funnily enough, there was a third team that he did go to, but he unfortunately didn't get an appearance for them. He went to Swindon and on loan and didn't play a single game.
We love that, going on loan to a club and getting zero appearance.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Must have been an interesting time. But so to go into my topic for this week, the question I have for you, Josh, is Eddie Howe the saviour of football? And I know I'm going to get a massive backlash on this one. I understand that, but let me explain it. So there's a general understanding that there's a pepification of football. You see it in professional game with Arteta, Pep Guardiola, all these teams trying to be very tiki-taka and this total football style. And it's even going into like your grassroots and your lower leagues. So like you see League 2 teams and even Sunday League teams trying to do this. And there's an understanding that it's gotten a little bit boring. You know, you're losing the flair of players like Grealish. Grealish is he's a good player still, but he's not the same player he was at Villa, you know. And you're losing these kind of mavericks that you used to get in the early 2010s. And I would like, and in my opinion, I feel like there needs to be a change of tact to kind of improve that. And that's why I ask again, is Eddie Howe the saviour of football?
So, yeah, it's interesting listening to what you had to say, because I agree that the pepification of world football, I don't even think it's just Premier League. I think it's world football that's happened. Even from his tiki-taka days at Barcelona and at Bayern, he tried to do it, and it was kind of funny because it's not in Bayern Munich's DNA to go into a tiki-taka style, so it was a bit of weird time. But I agree that through the years of Pep, we've come to this pepification where everything is rigid in terms of if you receive the pass here, you pass there, and there is no other option. There's no flexibility in the lineup. And I think that talks into what you were saying about a player like Grealish, who was an unpredictable player, as in he could go left, right, forward, whatever. And now he receives the ball, you know exactly you can't stop him, he's too good. But my point is just, you know what he's going to do. And I will circle back to the more direct question in a second, but I just want to say there's been a lot of talk in the last week or two about Haaland with regards to him being a good player or not. And I think he is a Pep player, and most people go, he's not tiki-taka, but I think he is, because all Pep cares about is winning games. Pep has the most points per game of any Premier League manager history of English football. And I don't think that's a fluke. All Pep cares about is winning the game, and all Haaland cares about is scoring goals. And this might be new information for some people, but scoring more goals than the opposition in 90 minutes means you win the game. But through that, I think football globally has suffered in terms of we are watching a much worse product now. I actually said to someone this week that it's so refreshing to have a 3-team horse race this season, to the title race, where you genuinely feel that there's 3 teams who could win it, when past seasons, to be honest, by the 30 matches played mark, you kind of knew Man City had won the league already in the last few seasons. So I really am enjoying that from this season. And the point is, I do think football's been ruined. What I don't necessarily agree with and don't understand where you're coming from is what Eddie Howe has to do with Pep Guardiola ruining football.
Yeah, that's fair enough, and I had a feeling that was going to be it. So the reason I bring up Eddie Howe, and the reason I say this is because every time I watched a Man City Newcastle game since Eddie Howe's come in, and this is before we spent the money, Eddie Howe has gone toe to toe, but not in the same way that Arteta did over the weekend. For example, he's gone in and gone, we're going to be on the front foot, and we're going to take the football to you. And he's done it in a way that not even Klopp did. Like Klopp played more counter-attacking football, not really aggressive football. Yeah, there was pressing, but he wasn't. Klopp doesn't often press right into the opposition box. Eddie Howe's entire MO is we're going to press we're going to press your entire team from minute 1 until minute 95. We're pressing your entire team, and we're pressing you into your own box. And he does that so well against Man City. And the other thing I was going to say about it is we can even delve into the stats, because the one thing that you have with Pep Guardiola is that it can lead to very boring games in terms of chances created. It's because it's so methodical, and you look at Arteta as well, and anyone who kind of plays into the style, then the way that they create their chances is very methodical to the point of it's a tactical battle. It's not free flowing. It's not, Klopp at least has a bit of free flowingness to him. And you get more of a chess match when you've got Eddie Howe, or when you've got Pep Guardiola. So I mean, whereas with Eddie Howe, it's so physical. It's just in your face. You've got to, and because they're so physically in your face, the opposition players have to use every ounce of their technique. And I'm not saying that Newcastle are better. I'm not saying Eddie Howe is better as well. I'm not saying Eddie Howe's a better manager than any of these managers that I've said. That's the one thing I will say. But what Eddie Howe does is that he forces teams to play at a quicker tempo when he wants to. When he's on defense, and when Newcastle on defense, he forces teams to play at this high tempo, and they've got to play their passes quicker, and they have to really go at Newcastle. You can't sit off in Newcastle and hold the ball in your own half for 5 minutes. You have to go and take the attack to Newcastle. And the other thing I'm going to say is that in the games, the interesting thing is stats-wise, Newcastle are third in XG created positively, and funnily enough, they're about 12th in XG against. So for their games, there's always goals. There's always goal chances in their games. And that's why I say he's not better, but he makes for more entertaining games. And the more entertaining a game, the more people want to watch. I can't remember the last time I wanted to watch Man City play Fulham or a Crystal Palace. But, man, if Newcastle are playing against Fulham or a Crystal Palace, you know there's going to be 4 goals and about 3 red cards. Like, it's just how they play. And that's why I say, in terms of watchability, is Eddie Howe the kind of saviour of football?
Something funny that you just said was, when Man City play Crystal Palace, for example, it's not a game you'd watch. The irony of you saying that is that as we're recording this video, Man City are playing Crystal Palace. Literally, I don't know if you said that on purpose.
I didn't know. Honestly, didn't know.
But I think that's the point, right? Is that I think a lot of people feel that way, is they would rather watch other more exciting teams. And I want to go back, though, to your point around, say, Arteta. And I think it's easy to agree that Arteta is kind of just a mirror image of Pep, most of his tactics. And I've been thinking about this for a while now, maybe a season or two. Because even when Ten Hag came in, for a while, he was trying to play with these inverted fullbacks, so Luke Shaw coming in. And it wasn't working. He didn't have the players, but he was trying to do that. And I don't think he was doing that at Ajax. I don't remember that being part of the Ajax way when they got so far in the Champions League. They were more like what you would describe at Newcastle. And the point I'm actually going to make is, if everyone's copying Pep and trying to do the same things, how are you ever going to beat Pep? Because Pep has more money than you, and he's been doing it for longer than you, so he has more experience, and he invented it, so he probably understands it better than you. So I don't understand how it's maybe good to copy that to try break into a top 4 or something. Once you get there, realistically, are you ever going to outperform City? Just doing the exact same thing with them? You're not going to. So I'm actually going to challenge or flip the coin back on you now and say, you were kind of quick to say, oh, Eddie Howe's not as good as some of these managers. And I want to say, why not? And the reason I'm saying why not is because he's working, I think we can agree that his squad is not as good, right? On paper. He overachieved with that squad last year. Getting into the Champions League with that Newcastle squad was a huge achievement. And I will say, by the way, Arsenal coming second last year was a huge overachievement as well. So I'm not just hating on teams, so I just want to clarify that. But Newcastle overachieved last year. That squad coming forth gave the fans and just general Premier League fans the idea that Newcastle should be a top 4 team regularly or competing at least. So this year, where it's not much of a drop-off, but it's a slight drop-off. Everyone's calling for blood, basically, at Newcastle this year. And I just want to remind everyone that the squad isn't there yet. If you look at how many seasons City spent for before they really were challenging anything, it was a lot longer of a period. So I actually want to say to you, why can't Eddie Howe be considered? I know that's not the popular thing to do, but why shouldn't he be talked about? I'm not saying a yes, but discussed as an elite manager in the league, because he is challenging, let's call it the top 6, with a squad that hasn't been fully built out. He's only been with them a couple of seasons. So, and as you said, he's doing it in a different manner. He's not just copying and pasting the Pep formula. He's actually trying to go out there and play.
I'm biased. So I would say I would love to have Eddie Howe in that elite manager conversation. And I think given time, he will be in that elite manager conversation. He took Bournemouth on a shoestring budget to an established Premier League team. And he is like, this idea of him being relegated is thrown back in his face. And it's like any other manager would have relegated them 4 seasons ago. And now a similar thing with Newcastle. Yes, they've got rich owners, but FFP has scuppered the amount of money they can spend, plus the fact that Dan Ashworth did buy a player who's been suspended for 9 months. So I do agree that he should be at least considered in that conversation, but I think he's probably where Arteta was about 3 seasons ago. He needs to prove himself with a trophy. That's where we're at. And I think given the time, Eddie Howe will win trophies in Newcastle. And I can see with Eddie Howe winning a Premier League in Newcastle, given time, given money, all that stuff. But right now, he's done a very, very good job. He's done a fantastic job. But he's probably on the De Zerbi level. You know, he's on that one step below elite because he's done a great job. He's shown himself to be a great coach and a forward thinker, especially with the way he takes on Man Cities and the Liverpools and these guys and actually going at them. But you can't really be considered an elite manager if you actually won elite trophies. I think that's what really makes your difference between your elite managers and your great managers. And then, so I think that's where I would kind of land on that. I do feel like his entire idea is we're going to play front foot football and it's entertaining. That's where I say it comes in with is he going to say football? Because the entertainment factor with Newcastle is right there. Whether they win or lose, it's a good game. It's for the neutral, it's a great game to watch.
Absolutely. One last thing that I actually find really interesting about Eddie Howe, as you were talking about, I remember this now. I know I think some people would put this down to he's arrogant or it's his way or the highway. I don't get that feeling from Eddie Howe, but I do know stories. I know he at Bournemouth when he was there, he had a run and I believe it was Defoe went there and he basically didn't play because Eddie Howe has a very strong idea how he wants to build his team, how he wants to play. And if the player, no matter how talented they are for the squad, doesn't want to play in that way, it's not going to benefit the team. And then Eddie Howe won't use that player. And again, that's not a thing of arrogance. It's actually that he has a very strong idea of how he wants to play. And I think some people listening to that will be like, oh, every manager has that. I think it's different because if Arteta goes, I have a strong idea of how to play football, but that's just how Pep plays football. Is that his own idea, or is he just copy and pasting Pep? And I know that that doesn't make him a bad manager, just by the way. But I'm just saying there's a lot of merit to be given to how he has a strong idea of football, and it's totally different to what else is going on in the Premier League. Name me another manager that plays like sets their team out to play like Newcastle do. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think you can see it with St. Maxi. He was easily Newcastle's best player for the entire time he was here. And he was sold because he didn't fit into that style of play. So I 100% agree with you. And there isn't, in my book, there's not another team that plays like Newcastle. And I think, again, coming back to the whole point, this is why I say he's not a better manager. He's not the best manager in the league. But he's probably the most entertaining manager. And in that way, I think he's going to save football. But everybody else, I would love to hear what you guys have to say on it. Leave us a comment, leave us a like, let us know your thoughts, and let us know anything else you'd like us to discuss. But for now, cheers from Football Unspoken.